start with the SQL injection over here. So let me tell you about SQL first, sir. So SQL is a part of your OWASP top 10. So we're gonna use the module called OWASP top 10. Let's try with the easiest one, which is your gray campus. So let's see the OWASP top 10. But let me talk about, first of all, let's talk about the word called OWASP. The Open Web Application Security Project is the methodology which is used to penetrate the web application and website. So OWASP is basically an organization which is used to, you can say, test the standards, firmware tools, or conferences, and it's basically help to security analysts and researchers. And top 10, OWASP top 10 is basically the application vulnerabilities which change every 3 to 4 years. And this one is updated on 2018. So I guess the next OWASP top 10 will be around 2021 or 2022. So if you see over here, they have given some examples over here. For example, injection. But if you go down, you can see the comparison between the OWASP top 10 according to the 13 and the 17 over here. So if you see one by one with the A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, these are the applications. But we are not going to use the OWASP top 10 2013. We're going to use the OWASP top 10 2017 over here. So if you see the very first one, which is your injection attack. The second one is your broken authentication and session management. A3, which is your sensitive data exposure. XML entities XSE, broken access control, security misconfiguration, process scripting, insecure deserialization, and using component with known vulnerabilities, and insufficient login and monitoring, which is your networking part. So you were saying that you have confused about OWASP top 10 and injection. So let me tell you one thing. These all are the types of injection, but they have different categories. Process scripting is a vulnerability which is related to JavaScript. And injection is an attack which can be related to LDAP queries, MySQL, OS command injection, and lots of other. If you see the injection part, in injection part, it's all about an injection attack occurs when a user is able to input untrusted data and tricking the web application system to execute initiate commands over here. It means we have to insert a malicious piece of code on the server side. So injection could be your SQL queries, your PHP queries, LDAP queries, and OS command injections. These are the types of injections over there. For example, if you see on the EC Council PDF files, you will see how many things to be over there. See this one. So over here, you're gonna see SQL injection concept, SQL injection attack, methodologies, tools, evasions, countermeasures, detection. So we're gonna try one by one. Let's try with the concept. So the main objective of SQL injection is a technique used to take advantages of unsanitized input validations, input vulnerabilities to pass SQL commands through a web application for execution of backend database. We can see only the front end, but in the backend there is something else. SQL injection is a basic attack used to either gain unauthorized access to the database or retrieve information directly from the database. It is a flow in web application and not a database or a web server issue. It's a flow in web application. So, what is the what could be the, you can say, types of attacks based on the issue of application on how it processed and supplied data. The SQL injection can be used to implement the attacks mentioned below. You can say authentication bypass, information disclosure, compromise integrity and availability of the data, remote code execution attack. For example, if you see over here, in the SQL injection, in the SQL part, structured query language is a textual language used to database server SQL command used to perform operation on the database include insert, select, update, and delete. Programmers use this command to manipulate data in the database server. You can see this is a normal SQL commands over here, which is basically used to maintain the backend database. But how the hackers use to manipulate the backend database? This is the main objective. For example, the most of the cases, what will happen? SQL injection and server-side technologies are the important part, which I told you that information gathering part. For example, if you say server-side technology, powerful server-side technology like ASP.NET and database server allow developers to create dynamic data-driven website and web application with incredible ease. Exploit the power of ASP.NET SQL injection can easily be exploited by hacker using SQL injection attack. Susceptible database. All relational database like SQL Server, Oracle, IBM, DB2, and MySQL are susceptible to SQL injection attack. SQL injection attack not exploit a specific software vulnerability. It's just the target website and a web application do not flow sequence coding practice or accessing, manipulating the data stored in the relational database. See? So that's why I'm going to show you each and everything over here, how to manipulate or how to bypass. For example, you can see how to understanding the HTTP post request. Then when we are simply on a login form, just like account login, username and password, we simply put the values on the parameter values over here. But what could be the inside of a query? We can see the front end, but what is the backend query? The backend query you can see over here. The backend query would like if you put username Smith and the password Simpson, you will see the select star from user where username is equal to Smith and password is equal to Simpson. See, this is the backend query. All we can see is the front end, but in the backend there will be MySQL queries over there. And over here, the client is using a post method that is transferring the data from any of the comment field or a parameter field. When a user provides information and clicks submit, the browser submits a string to the web browser that contains the username and credentials. For example, the string is visible in the body, HTTP and HTTP post request. Is it clear, Ilyas?
Yes, it's clear.
You can see the front end, but in the back end you can see the query over there, which runs to execute the command. You can say authenticate. First, you need to understand the MySQL query. How does it works? When you're putting the username and password over there, you can see only the front end, but in the back end, you can see a whole query will be executed from there. Select count. You can see the backend query will be like string select count star from user where username is equal to plus text user.txt, which contains the files and the password text password.txt, and you can see the constructor's query select star. See. The same thing. There's nothing difference, but the main objective, how does it work with the select, update, create, and delete function? So, how the hackers gain unauthorized access? How? That is the most important part. For example, understanding the SQL query, SQL injection queries. For example, select star from user where username is equal to blah or 1 is equal to 1 minus minus, and password is equal to Springfield. So what is he's trying to do? He's just putting a string called blah and or a condition like or is equal to 1 is equal to 1 and minus minus. What does it mean? What is really trying to do? The very first thing, let me show you the practical part.
Minus minus, I think just to comment, no? Comment.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
For example, you can see over here that I have a machine, a simple basic machine. So we're going to try with the first one. So over here, let me show you one thing, how to identify SQL injection first. So I'm going to write domain name, file type, dot programming language, question mark, parameter with the value. So what does this mean? So if you compare this one, the domain name could be anything. For example, it could be on a website, xyz.com. And it could be a file type, could be a login form, login.php, a forum, which has an ID equal, which has a parameter called ID and which has a value 1. If you try to see this one, you will compare that when we have a login.php file, we will have a forum which has a different parameter. If I'm using an ID is equal to 1, it could be username is equal to Craw. So the thing is, on this specific login forum, which is a part of your web application, a parameter over here, which is not properly validated or sanitized, or you can say simply has some coding issue, it could be vulnerable. Why? If you see over here, it could be attack when attacker occur when a user is able to input untrusted data and tricking the web application or system to execute initiate commands over there. For example, which kind of queries, just like your SQL queries, your PHP, LDAP queries, and OS commands. And what to inject, you can see over here, what to inject. Queries, OS command, codes, and URL argument manipulation. Where to inject. Whenever a user input is required or use modified data, it can be a text box, a username and password field, or a field, feedback field, comment field, URL, etc. Why to inject? To check if the application is vulnerable. And the most important part, if you want to simply identify the SQL injection, you have to know MySQL first. That's why the best place is your security idiots. You can try this one. You will have a basic commands of SQL for SQL injection. You can see it will discuss all the parameter work, just like a database. On the database, you will have some tables. You will have some columns. Which the table name could be have an ID, the F name, the name, and the row number. So here is an example of the most basic select statement. So if you know the table name, you can use select table star from the table. So it will show you all the table names from the server side. Output will be like this. On the table, it could be some contain some data like this, where star stands for all the columns and table name, table 1 in the table name. So for example, you can see they want to select all the columns on this column name. So you can simply write select column name 1, column name 2 from table 1. So it's going to show you the output of column 1 and column 2. If you try select star from student where ID is equal to 1, so it will select the first one which has an ID equal to 1 over there. Select star from student where app name is equal to Cameline. So you can see Cameline over there. You should know the table name over there. So this is, sorry, column name. In the column, the family is there. So it will show you all the basic commands over there. Whenever we are facing an SQL injection, something query things running inside the application. So once we assume that the queries will be easily started injecting in it. So the very first thing you have to see which ID is they are using for numerical input. You can say encapsulation, or you can say single quote, double quote, bracket, single quote, bracket, double quote, bracket. to encapsulate the value. It will the very first step, which is called your balance the query. All the queries will give you some output like this. The very first thing is to find the parameter with the value is vulnerable or not. So over here, that you can try some other things. You can see from MySQL, you can learn from security.
For the output, it should be the value, no?
Yes.
But you see here, it's ID. No?
I started learning from here because I'm not a good programmer, so I basically used to see the contents.
Okay. Okay.
So you can see over here comment and names. For example, you can use MySQL Linux style, --plus MySQL Windows style. You can see hash URL encode using while --plus SQL comment semicolon %0 null byte to bypass the filters. You can say single quote back tick. So very first thing you can see, you may also encounter your input under the column or the group order by statement. By the they are not common. Will we discuss? Okay, this is a normal thing. You can see all the things one by one over here. For example, let me show you over here. So this is a simple a Jacken, which is your simple testing website for learning SQL injection. So please input the ID is equal to parameter with the numeric one. Okay, so for the testing side, I'm going to use question mark ID is equal to 1, just simply putting the value. So when I put the value over there, I can see they have a login name called dump and the password is dump over there.
So this is a line.
This is output from the backend database because it's showing the ID is equal to 1. If you put ID is equal to 2, you will see some other values. Angelina kill. So why this happening?
When you can you just remove ID? I just want to see one execute. Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Over here, you can see only the. Just please put the ID is equal to parameter with the value for the testing side. Okay.
Okay.
Say if I put this question mark ID is equal to 1, it's showing me an output. You will see some of the values like this with the parameter is equal to ID. The parameter is ID and the value is 1. Sometimes this vulnerability is also known as URL manipulation or session management. When an attacker simply changes the value of the parameter and retrieve the backend database, it's also known as a vulnerability called session management. Because when I'm putting an ID, I'm changing the ID equal to values, it's showing me other users and password.
How can I know that? How can I know the name of the parameters?
How could you know the name of the parameters?
Yeah.
So you have to use the crawling process. All you have to do the crawling process first. You need to identify the number of parameter values on the server side. Or either you can use some SQL injection Google Docs, which I told you that time, to identify the vulnerabilities of your SQL injections. See, if you look over here, view items.php ID is equal to, these are your parameter values with the parameter value. See. All you have to do is to use the Google Docs to identify the SQL injection parameters on the URL manipulation.
But let's say that website using different names or different instead of ID.
instead of ID, they can use different things, sir. That's why you can see the cat is also parameter. The page is also a parameter. The view is also parameter.
But I have a website and it's unknown website. Let's say, how can I know that? How I can identify the parameters?
How will identify the parameter values?
Yeah.
So for that case, when I do a SQL injection part, I basically run the crawling part first. So I'm going to use a tool called Burp Suite. Are you familiar with the Burp Suite, sir?
No,
Burp Suite.
no.
You're not familiar with the Burp Suite? Again. So let me show you over here on the Burp Suite part. You can see that Burp Suite is one of the best tools for web application testing part.
Is there any tool similar to Nessus?
No, this is a totally different tool. Burp Suite is basically used to for web application testing. We can simply use it for client request server modification, you can say. And if you look over here, Burp Suite is one of the best tools for using for scanning or pen testing and web application security platform. What is the use of the Burp Suite? Burp Suite is a Java-based pen testing framework. It has become an industry standard suite used by information security professionals, and it's basically used to identify vulnerabilities and verify attack vectors that are affecting web applications. And most of the companies, they prefer Burp Suite for testing their web application, because the very first thing is to know your target. Yeah, for that, so that's why I was saying, if you see that you need to identify the parameter values with the Burp Suite. You need to identify the crawling process. And crawling is the part where you need to identify the number of parameter values in the backend of the server. And this is a community edition. I have to buy a license for this because there are some applications are not acceptable over here. We don't have the permission to use that one. For example, if you see, which I was talking about, we can't use any of the tools pro version only. Pro version for scanning tools. Why? Because through the scanning part, we need to identify. For example, if this is a website, sir, if this is a website, I doesn't know how many parameter values are there. Let's take this website. This is a proper website, okay. So my main objective is to identify the number of parameter values in this entire website. So it's gonna take a lot of time, because if I click, if I click any of the tabs over here, you can see that we have some parameter with the values. But if I do manually, one by one, all these things, it's gonna take a lot of time for me. So through the help of Burp Suite, Burp Suite is one of the best tool for pen testing part, as per here. And over here, through the Burp Suite, you can manipulate or you can simply create a proxy with your browser. Whatever the request you are sending with your browser, it will be monitored over here. So if you see, Burp Suite is one of the best tool, and it will take some lot of time, because if you see, there are some functions like target, proxy, intruder, repeater, sequencer, decoder. Let me show you one thing over here. I have a crack version. This is the crack version. So in Java-jar for running the decoder, first of all, which is a jar extension. So we are specifying the Java command with the jar and the decoder name. So I'm going to share this one with you also. So I'm remove the license to Khan, and I'm going to run this one. So we're going to use a temporary project, new project on this, open existing project. So next, use burp suite default. Yes, start. And you can see that we have interface over here. And for that, what we're going to do, you can see we have a new scan tab, target, proxy, and you can see we can scan also now. And we have the permission to engagement tool also to make a POC. So if I introduce the burp suite, let me talk about over here. Burp suite is a leading tool which is used to identify all the vulnerabilities on the server side. You can see $4,000 per year for using web vulnerability scanner, for using scheduled repeat scan, unlimited scannability, CI integration, and you can see over here that we have a professional also which can have advanced manual tools, essential manual tools for $400 per year per user. You can see per user. And you can use the community edition, which is free. You can use this one. So burp suite is a leading application used for web application testing manually, because we have the automation tools, but we have to do the manual part also. A manual toolkit for investigation website security. See, vulnerability scanner. Scanner to detect, identify all the loopholes on the server side.
This is contains a feature that we can scan web application.
Yes,
Is,
sir.
is it the same?
Just like your Nessus, sir.
Okay.
But before that, you can see there are other functions. You can find lots of vulnerabilities. CSR POC generator function. You can use files, configurations. You can use lots of things over here. So, is there any free version? You can download community editions. How to install Powerchute? You can see the website. And you have to install the CA certificate also. When browsing HTTP website by Burp, the proxy generates a SSL certificate signed by the certificate authorities. Configure your browser, work currently with Burp, follow the instruction of it. This has given you a video. And it will show you when you're using a Firefox. See, when you're using a Firefox with the server side scanning, you need SSL certificate for that, for using HTTPS website to intercept. And whatever the packets we are flowing from the browser, we can simply see that packet in our Powerchute manager also. See. So the most important part, you have to install the CA certificate. If you install and trust
sorry, I think there is a noise in.
Is it okay now?
Not.
Okay, there's a construction going on my side.
It's I can hear you clear, but there is
Yes, I can hear that also because there is a construction going on, and I think it will take some time over here.
Okay. Okay.
So over here, let me introduce you the tool called Burp Suite Repeater. Let's talk about the Burp Suite Repeater. Burp Suite Repeater is basically used to modify each and every packets on the client side before transferring to the attacking side. Let me show you the demonstration. But before that, I'm going to configure my browser, my Burp Suite. I'm going to link this one with my browser settings of my Firefox. For that case, what are we going to do? We're going to try, you can see on the proxy, we're going to create a proxy. So through the proxy, we're going to make a tunnel with my browser. Whatever the packets I'm transferring with my browser, it will be show over here. But for that, we have to intercept on. But right now it's off. So we need two things. We need to install the CA certificate and we need to configure the IP address also. So in the proxy file, you will say intercept. Intercept means hold the packet. HTTP history about your browser, WebSockets, when you see the contents over here, and the options. And over here, we're going to use proxy listener. For that, Burp proxy uses listener to receive incoming HTTP requests from your browser. You will need to configure your browser to use the listener as its proxy server. So over here, you can see that we're gonna use the local host IP address, which is 127.0.0.1 with the port 8080. So I'm gonna use my local host IP address to make a connection with my browser. And each installation of your Burp generates its own CA certificate. That proxy listener use it for negotiating SSL connection. You can import any export the certificate of this on your Burp side. So we're gonna use regenerate CA certificate. So when you click on this, the certificate has been regenerated on the IP address on your loopback, which is 127.0.0.1 port 880. You can download the certificate from your browser over here. You can write http burp. Okay, it's showing me something else. Otherwise, we can put 127.0.0.1 and the local host IP address. And we can see that we have Burp Suite Professional and we have the CA certificate. So I already have a CA certificate, but I'm gonna remove this one. Let's try to remove this one. And again, I'm gonna generate this one. So over here, I have a certificate, a CA certificate. If you open this one, you will see Port Swagger CA certificate, which will expire on 3rd of 7. See. So what I'm gonna do, I have to install this CA certificate on my browser. For that case, I'm gonna use Firefox, and we're gonna go to the preference. And in the preference, you have to go to the general. And over here, I'm gonna use it for certificate. View certificates and the authorities. I'm gonna import this certificate where I downloaded this one. Trust the website, trust the email address, and accept. So the certificate has been installed properly. If you see over here, if you want to see, you can go down and you can see the port swagger. See, this is a certificate. Now we're gonna do the network part, the network network proxy. So configure your Firefox Connect with the network. So settings, and I'm going to use the manual proxy configuration. Why? Because the manual proxy configuration should be same as per my over here, because it will use the same localhost IP address. I already put 127.0.0.1 port 8080 and select use this proxy for all protocols. And you have to remove this one, no proxy for. If you don't remove this one, the proxy will not work. And enter. Now let's try this one. So in the dashboard, you will see module like scan, new live scan. So let me tell you about the new scan. New scan is basically a type of scanner which is used to audit or crawl. Crawl function is basically used to identify the number of parameter values on the server side. So if you select crawl, all you have to do, you have to give the IP address of the target. I'm gonna copy the domain name and I'm gonna paste it over here. So the main objective of using the scan new scan is to identify the number of parameter values which is hidden to me. So if I press OK, you will see the crawl has been on the progress on the test.php.vulhub.com, and you can see the number of requests. And from the crawling process, we can identify the number of parameter values on the server side. You can see on the target tab. If you click this one, see, it will crawl all the parameter values on the server side to identify the URL and the file names with the response code. See. So it will scan one by one all the parameter values on the server side. All you have to do, you have to wait for that, because crawling process will take time for that. And most of the cases, we use Burp Suite for pen testing part. See. You can simply check the file names about which I was talking about, sir. See this one, search parameter with the test is equal to query. You need to identify the parameter values like this. Or either you can use Google Docs for SQL injection, sir, which I showed you. Is it okay, sir?
Yeah, it's okay.
You can see the parameter value. If you click over this, you will see the parameter values, which is test and the query. And you can see the tab over here, param.
But for index or login.php, on all the remain URL.
They are URLs.
Now, yeah, now he is not finding, or I mean,
No,
it's not available. No.
he's following all the parameter values, sir. He's just following all the files on side the server. You can see over here. See, this is a proper tree of that part.
Okay.
Ajax, Flash, Mode, these are directories on the server side, which is hidden to us. You can see search.php. See over here. These are parameter values, no? So the main objective of my Burp Suite of crawling part is to identify the number of parameter values on the server side. You can see it is still crawling the part. See, the 231 request has been generated. Either you can use Burp Suite to identify the parameter values, or either you can use Google Docs, because all the things are intermediate over here.
For Google Doc, can you just repeat? Yes. Okay.
Google Docs to identify the SQL injection, sir. We can put any of the parameter values we want. If I show you one thing, in URL, I can give login.php, the file type, with the question mark ID is equal to parameter value. And site, I will take India. The title, which I will take, is your shopping website. Let's remove this shopping website. And you can see the forest department, the ICICI Allahabad. See. And they are not secure, first of all. Staff login. See. Let's remove this one.
Can you just sorry? Can you go back?
Yes.
Go down.
Yes.
Here there is in EGM colleague. There is admin login ID admin.
This one.
Yeah.
404 not found. Error.
Okay.
But it was showing us some data over there. You can use SQL. You can use Google Docs for identify the vulnerable parameters, or you can use simply exploit DB for that. In the exploit DB, you can see over here GHDB, Google Hacking Database. There are lots of Google Hacking Database. I'm going to use SQL injection, quick search, SQL injection. See. They are around 140. Let's try injection part. They have to. We can provide lots of things over here, sir. You can see 2000 and 2020. These are the latest one. Bhaskar Kumar, Rutik Saini. They have the names. But the most important part of your how are we going to use this one. That's why I told you about we're going to start with the basic one. So hacking web application, you can see the scan has been done.
This site is available on Aspen tools.
This site, no, this is not available.
Okay.
So you can see over here that they have through the burp suite, we crawl all the directories on the server side. And these are the parameters.
The test, the website you show me now. This one,
this
yes.
Is not this one is not. This is the real website, sir.
This website is your website or for testing only?
This website is for testing websites, sir.
It's for Craw or available in public. I mean, everyone can make tests.
Everyone can use it.
Everyone, okay.
anyone can use it. For example, you can see over here, for better SQL injection, if you know that if you have to find the SQL injection over there, you can copy and simply you can use a tool called, automation tool called SQL map for that. SQL map is an automation tool which is used for identifying the bugs on the server side. If you see over here, -help, you will see all the parameter, you can see all the operators that we can use for it. For example, -version, -v for the verbose to see the output on the server, target, -u to URL, -g, you can use Google Docs. For request queries, for the server-side requests, you can use data, -data, -cookies, random agent, proxies, check, You can modify your client request from here, or you can use injection temper part, -dbms, force background to provide value. Detection part, you can use level of connection, -level or -risk to perform an advanced scan. And you can use enumeration phase, which I was talking about. These options can be used to enumerate the backend database management system structure and database contained in the tables. So you can use -all, retrieve everything, -b for the banner grabbing part, -current user, -current DB, current password to enumerate, -tables to enumerate the table names, -columns to enumerate the column names, schema for the information architecture, dump to extract the server sides, -dump all, -d for using the specific database to enumerate, -T to enumerate the specific tables, columns on that, -C to enumerate the columns on the sides. But the very first thing, when we use the crawling part over here, that we use the crawl part in the burp suite. So the very first thing that you have to use in the SQL map is to crawl process. When you put SQL map -u, the target URL that is vulnerable, are you testing? You can put parameter with the value, and you can use a function called crawl. The crawl function is to identify the number of parameter values on the backend, but it will only enumerate the parameter value which has a parameter with the ID or the anything it could be. So if you enter this one, all you have to do, you have to see the options requirement. For example, I'm going to use level 1 of crawl, and either you can use for level 5 also or level 10. If you use level 10, it will be an advanced scan. You can try one by one. So let's.
What is level 10 or level 1?
Fast execution, sir. Fast
okay.
execution. Yeah. So let's try. Do you want to check the existing sitemap? Sitemap will identify all the directories on the server side. So I'm gonna use no for that. I'm gonna simply use it for identify the vulnerable parameters. So you can see that he didn't use this one. So we're gonna add more values. No. So it's asking me enter the number of threads. So let's enter the threads. 5 threads means fast execution. You can see that SQL map got 302, which was redirect the client request to somewhere else. Do you want to follow this one? Let's try this. Yes. Do you want to store the crawling result in the temporary files to relevant further uses? I say no. Okay, you can see that he find a first parameter with the artist is equal to 1. See. Do you want to test this URL? We say, yeah, try this one. So in the back end, you can see that they have tried their own commands in their side. You can see they're gonna use some. Do you want to exploit this SQL injection? Yeah, why not? Let's try. See this one. The SQL injection vulnerability has already been detected, and the server, the backend database is MySQL, and the MySQL version is 5.0.12. SQL injection vulnerability is already detected against ptest.php. Do you want to skip the further test? I say yes. And over here, you can see the parameter values over here. See, which I was talking about. Either you can try with the artist is equal to 2, yeah, cat is equal to 1. Let's try with this one. So with the crawl function, you can simply use it to identify the number of parameter values on the server side. But I'm going to use SQL map -u, and I'm going to use over here -dbs. Why I'm using dbs? To enumerate the database on the server. To enumerate the databases on the servers on the specific target, you have to write -dbs. So hit enter, and you can see in the front end that there are 2 databases just like AccuArt and Information Schema. It means the target parameter value was vulnerable to SQL injection. That's why it showed me the data on the front end. And if you see over here, that what they tried the Boolean SQL injection or different kinds of SQL injections. You can see the database of AccuArt and Information Schema. Is it clear, sir?
Yes, it's clear. Can we run SQL select SQL select query?
Yeah, basically we are not on the server side. We are enumerating the databases from the backend.
Okay, okay.
That's why we are using SQL map, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look over here, that the first database is your AccuArt. So as I mentioned you before, when you use a specific database, you have to present with a capital D. When you want to enumerate the databases on the server side. So I'm going to use the same thing. I'm going to use the same parameter value over here. I'm going to use -D with the database name called AccuArt. And on the databases, what we need to do, we need to enumerate the tables. So we're going to use -, tables to enumerate on the specific database that we mentioned with the capital D. So over here, if you see -, tables, you can see the table names over here. Artist, cards, categories, featured, guest book, pictures, products, users.
And to read the values of tables,
we're gonna use with the capital T of that. If you want to use the table names, all you have to do is to specify with the capital T. For example, I'm going to use the table name called users over here. On the table users, enumerate for the column names as per the -, columns function on the SQL map. Enumerate the column names from the database tables columns. So when you hit enter, in the back end, it will try its own commands, and you can see the column names over here. And we can use any of the column names to enumerate. For that case, I'm going to specify the column names uname and pass. See this one. -T was users, capital C with the uname. Let's see, the uname was okay. Uname, comma, pass. But this is the final step. In the columns names uname and pass, there is the data. But over here, we're gonna dump the data. So I'm gonna use -dump DBMS database table entries. So when we use -dump, it will use to enumerate the columns uname and pass on the backend. So I'm going to use -dump over here. Hit enter, and over here you can see the username was pass test and the password is test. This was a testing website. That's why we can see this one. All you just need is to know the backend server. And if you see that we have a sign up, you can see also they have given the username and test and the password test. And this is a testing website. That's why. This is an unstable website. So the SQL injection can be anything. You can try this one over here also. In the real life scenario, we don't have that much of time to simply do the manual testing. That's why we have automation tools. Is it clear, sir?
Yeah, it's clear.
So that's why most of the attacks take place with SQL injection. But all you need to do is to identify the number of parameter values. That is the most important part. So our main objective was to identify the parameter values, and we have to enumerate one by one. So our main objective was to identify and simply check one by one all the things.
Okay. So this is all about the SQL injection.
This was all about SQL, but in the real life scenario, you should be familiar with the SQL. If you want to learn SQL injection, you need a lot of time to practice the MySQL structure first. You need to understand the MySQL structure. Then
What
you
do you
have
mean by MySQL structure?
MySQL, the database queries.
Okay. SQL
Yes,
queries.
yes, SQL
Okay.
queries.
Mhm. I have the basics of SQL queries,
Okay,
and I worked before as a database administrator.
okay, that's good, sir. So I think you are already familiar with these things, huh?
Yeah, but not all, but in the basic. I mean, I can understand the queries what can do. If someone send me a queries, I read the SQL, and I can understand, for example, at least not 100%, but 50% what can do this if it's long or a big SQL query. If it is in 2 or 3 lines, it's fine. It
Okay.
depends the complexity.
Yes, exactly. It depends on the complexity, sir. So that's why the SQL injection is important for us. We need to understand. We should know when we are doing SQL injection. We should know about the MySQL also. So you can learn MySQL from W3 school.
Sorry.
You can, if you want to learn MySQL, you can learn from W3
Yeah.
school, sir.
Yeah. I know this. I used that before. W3schools.com.
Yes,
It's good for beginners.
exactly, sir. So if you see over here on your slides, it will show you the basic concept, how to understand this one. So you can.
Can you go back to the picture? I read last time about this, and for example, the password is just to there's minus minus to make the field password in command. I
Yes,
think
sir.
I'm not sure, but the username BLAH.
The blah is just a comment over there. There's nothing else over there. You were just fetching a. You were just saying. You're just putting a true value over there. For example, see over here. All true. Mutual. So if I have a login page, this is a forum. So through this one, the blah was, it could be anything, a parameter with the value. And it's putting the single quotes to balance the query first. Then he's putting or operator to make a condition, which is saying 1 is equal to 1. Is it the value true? It's putting a statement which is true value. And the minus minus plus is to comment out the rest of the queries. So if you look over here again, so if I use blah, a single quote, the OR function for the making a condition which is value true, 1 is equal to 1, minus minus space. So I'm going to copy with the same parameter because we doesn't know the username and password. We want to bypass this one. So if I log in, I can see that we have login with the administrator and user. So all this was a blind SQL injection tech.
When you move minus minus in the username, it works also?
Sorry?
If we remove the minus minus in the username, yeah.
It will not work, sir.
It will not. Okay.
Yeah. You can see a syntax error came from that the is a single quote and the password they are using on the line 1 on the column 57.
Okay.
We have some SQL error over here. You can try single quote. Let's try this one. We are not, but the username and password are not found in the system. You can use single quote over here to check the is it vulnerable or not, the manual way. Double quote. So you can try the minus minus space.
We should use the space minus minus space.
Yes.
Okay.
See. You can see the websites over here. So that's why it was given one by one all the things. Understanding this SQL queries. Attacker launches an SQL injection. Query executed, code after minus minus are now comment, like this one. This one was comment out.
Okay.
So each and everything was given over here. Understanding an SQL injection query code analysis is the most important part, where you can see a user enter a username password matches a record in the user tables. A dynamically generated SQL query is used to retrieve the numbers of matching rows. A user is then authenticated and redirected to a requested page. When the attacker enters blah or 1 is equal to 1, the SQL queries look like select count star from user where username is blah and the password. Because a pair of hyphens design, the beginning of a comment in SQL is a query simple become select statement. And the rest of will be comment out from here. So that's why the most important part is to you already know the SQL MySQL part, so it will be easy for you.
Yeah, I think.
So in real life scenario, there are lots of other tools also. You can use it for bypass or simply a learning process. You can see if you go down. I think they are going to use some tools like which we have used right now. See, there are SQL injection tools like Mole and JSQL injection. So the most important part is you can run all this command one by one. Is it clear, sir?
Yes,
But in the
it's clear.
but
So
in
we
the
have SQL injection in URL we did, and
yes,
we had the SQL injection in a form in the fields.
yes.
We had an example, and what else? I think there is a third one. I forget.
There are lots of other attacks, sir. If you talk about the SQL injection, there are lots of other attacks.
Where the where to use in SQL injection? There is a URL. There is
There is
a
post
field.
method. Yes, the post method,
Method.
that is a
Okay.
field, and there is a header based and cookie based also.
Cookies.
All you have to do is to make a request on your burp suite, and you have to manipulate that one.
Okay.
For example, if I'm just creating a request, and the header parameter is not is vulnerable, so attacker can manipulate the database on the back end. Everything, the parameter with the value is the important part. So see over here, if I'm just simply doing a Google request, let me show you. See, this is a proper request which is simply generated from my side, which is simply generated from my side, which is a client request. You can see a get method, which is a URL over there, and the host where the client request want to go. The user agent, the company, the mediator, you can say the Mozilla that we are using. The accepting language for the Mozilla, HTML, English, cookie parameter, and the connection is closed right now because I didn't forward. You can see the client request has been stuck over there. Through the burp suite, what I can do, I can simply forward or drop or take an action. So if I forward this one, you can see the get parameter has been executed, and you can see the website has been hosted. See. Through the burp suite, we can simply.
What does that mean? I didn't understand the meaning in this.
Which one, sir?
I mean, in this section, I didn't understand what's the objective, the main objective of this.
The main objective of this, many of the attackers, they simply modified the client request they have simply used. For example, if I'm using craw.in on the post request, if I do the interception, I can simply hold the packet from my browser. It's not going over there because the packet has been held in my burp suite. You can see over here. And I can see, and most important thing is to check all the parameter values over here, one by one.
So I am intercepting the what the user is doing, right?
Yes, exactly.
And if we make research in Google, can I intercept the research also?
You already intercept the resource, sir. You already intercept the resource. That's why it's not moving from here. I can simply forward or I can simply drop the packet.
Okay.
If I forward this one, you will see the parameter value will be changed one by one. See.
Forward to where when you forward?
When I forward, the client request will be forward also over here. I control my browser request over here.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was the SQL injection, sir. But we're gonna try later on more things.